And good morning and welcome to the VSA Capital 5 Minute Morning Miner on Friday, November the 18th. A nice mellow morning, actually. And it's the weekend coming up and the World Cup starting. Paul, are you rooting for the United States to win the World Cup?
Of course, I'm rooting for the United States to win the World Cup, but the question is can they do it without beer? So
do it without beer? I don't think they can do it with beer, let alone without beer.
Well, the latest news is that the Qataris have banned sales at the stadium for beer. So,
well, that's bad news for everybody. But for what it's worth, Brazil are the favourites at 7-2, then Argentina at 11-2, France 13-2, then England at 8-1. Maybe that's a flutter. If you're Welsh and listening, I'm afraid you're 175-1. Doesn't sound like people would give you much chance. Anyway, let's turn to the news. There's not too much this morning, so we might have a little bit of a surprise at the end. I love a good surprise on a Friday. It's maybe worth just mentioning, I think there's been a couple of reports out from SQM and Pilbara, who are the big lithium players. It's interesting. Pilbara certainly are saying that they've been selling spodumene concentrate to China for $8,700 a ton. That's 12 times the price last year, which is extraordinary, isn't it, Paul?
It is extraordinary, too, and I think that it probably won't last. It's definitely a speculative bubble price that we're seeing there, but how long that bubble stays inflated is the real issue.
Could be quite a while. Anyway, let's quickly knock off. We've got a couple of sort of corporates or Shanghai Mining Club clients, Apollo Silver and Cerrado Gold. Quickly comment on those, Paul, please.
Yep. First off, Apollo Silver has announced completion of this season's drilling program in their Calico Silver District acreage outside Barstow, California. They completed it here in phase 2 drilling about 4,800 meters or 44 RC drill holes completed, and finished up about 14 days ahead of schedule. So they've put in all of this year about 9,840 meters of drilling out there in 88 holes. So they'll put out a new mineral resource estimate next quarter, and we'll see what management has to say as they're touring London in the next couple of weeks.
That is correct. They are touring around with quite a few other companies at the moment, actually, that we're involved with. So if people want to meet any of these companies, we do have a little drinks evening for people to come and meet on, I think it's Tuesday, I should be actually this date off the top of my heart, shouldn't I? Thursday, the 24th of November. If you're interested, come around at the end of the day to VSA Capital and have a drink and listen. And Cerrado Gold, Paul.
Yes, they have signed up with an outfit called FCI Sofingen Dollar Linked, which is a non-bank funding provider, on $2 million of immediate coverage and promissory notes, and that will be rolled into a $10 to $12 million U.S. financing here, and it's specifically that money at 5% interest payable per annum, and it will be used to keep the Calendrias heap leach project development on schedule there on their mine there in Argentina. And that heap leach project should be pouring first gold in April next year.
Very good. Right, so we're sticking on a corporate client theme, and we're going to talk a little bit about Central Asian Metals, or better known as CAML. And Ollie, you've just been out to Macedonia with them and just come back. You've had a nice little trip out there. First of all, I hope it was a good trip.
Yeah, morning, Andrew. Morning, Paul. It was a very nice trip. North Macedonia, as we've got to call it now to avoid offending anyone. But yeah, really good trip. It's the second time I visited the project. I went about 3 years ago in 2019, just before this cut and fill mining method transition was about to start, and now they're well progressed through that, and that was really the purpose of the site visit. Now they've owned it for 5 years, to see the progress there. So the big thing we saw underground was the change from long hole stoping, and then the new equipment that's bigger, more automated, being used to build the central decline. And you know, the comparison between them is huge. With, I think this new equipment can drill at twice the speed of the previous equipment, so that's very positive for development going forward, and the new mining approach.
Yeah, and a question from me, Ollie, and then I'll maybe let Paul ask a question, is obviously we know a lot of the mining companies at the moment are suffering from higher energy costs and higher explosive costs and this sort of stuff. Is there any sign that Camel in North Macedonia, as you said, and the Sasa mine there are suffering from that at all? Or is this new sort of high-speed drilling, whatever they've got, offsetting all of
that? Yeah, they are exposed to the higher power costs, and it's something they highlighted in the interim results, but their power prices are sort of set, European power prices are a proxy for them, and as everyone has found in the last couple of months, October was pretty warm, so they have benefited from that. So in terms of my estimates, which were quite conservative on the power price, there's probably a bit of upside there. It's still a lot higher than their historic rate of sort of 10p a kilowatt hour. They'd guided to sort of 40-50 for the balance of the year, but it's not been that high. But so 2022 looks like it won't have quite as big an impact from that. But 2023, the risks are still there. European power supply is still vulnerable. But ultimately, Sasa is a very high margin, low cost asset. So although it eats into earnings, it's still a very robust project that will be able to weather this kind of challenge.
Sounds good. Go on, Paul, you ask a question.
Yeah, when I visited the site over 5 years ago now, one of the things that we were talking about with the new cut and fill method they were planning was to be able to improve their reuse of mill tailings by putting some of that back underground as paste backfill. Can you comment on that at all?
Yeah, so the foundations of the paste plant were, I think, just about to be laid or sort of in process. So the paste side of it is on track, and that obviously forms a key part of switching the tailings method for the next to the end of the mine life to dry stack tailings, which will reduce their surface footprint. But yeah, that's all progressing well, and they've actually just hired a new general manager for Sasa who worked on I think some of the very first projects in Australia that started to use paste backfill. So the perfect person to oversee this transition and startup of that new method. But I think Andrew will like this. So now they're debt free. They've hired a new general manager who seems like a very safe pair of hands. That should free up the senior management to really focus on business development now, and find the opportunities to take the company to the next level.
You've got it in one, Ollie. As you know, I love Camel to do a really good acquisition. Of course, they are being very patient and making sure they do a really good acquisition, because of course Camel, they are the Carlsberg of mining companies. Absolutely, safe and sound. I mean, if you look at the share price, it's been a tremendous performer relative to its peer group, but it's been safe and sound and pays a lovely dividend. So you can't fault them at all. Top quality management. The Carlsberg of mining. This is the 5-minute morning miner, and we've gone sort of somewhat over. But Ollie, thanks for jumping on and updating us on that. And I hope everyone enjoys the weekend.
Very good. See you.
Thanks, Andrew.